Now, when it comes to adding fractions where the denominators are equivalent, we have to only follow one very simple step, whereby all we have to do is add the numerators together and we keep the denominators the same. The trick is to actually understand why we have to only add the numerators. Well, here I've drawn a bar model. Alright, this chocolate bar up here is going to be split into 1/2. Alright, so that's 1/2 there. Alright, and I'm going to add in another half, like so. Okay, so what I need to do now, as I'm saying, if I'm going to add the numerators together, so I've got 2, and I add the denominators, I end up with 2/4. Well, here's the thing. If we're saying that we're adding it together, you can, and I'll shade in 2/4 down here, we can actually see that all we've done is we've ended up with the equivalent fraction, which means, as we can see, we know 2/4 is the same as 1/2. Okay, so it's 2/4 is the same as 1/2. And we've not actually added anything together, so we can't add the numerator and denominator together. So instead, this time, what we'll do is we'll just add the numerators together instead. So we know 1 and 1 is 2, and we keep the denominator the same, so we've got 2/2. Alright, and we know that if we add together, so we've got 1/2 there, and we add together another half there, alright, we'll end up with 2/2, which, if we know our equivalent fractions, is the same as 1/2. So that's how you go about adding fractions where the denominators are equivalent. But what happens if we have to add fractions where the denominators are different? Well, let's find out. So here it becomes a little bit more tricky. We can see that the denominators of these two fractions are not the same. So we're going to have to do something about that. And one of the things we can do is to have to find a common denominator. We have to make the two denominators here the same. Now, we could either do that by multiplying, or we could do that by dividing. So I'm going to do that by multiplying. So here I know that 5 can be multiplied by 2 to give us 10. Alright, so I know I can multiply that by 2, which will give us the same denominator as that one over there. Now, if you remember back to finding equivalent fractions, I know that whatever I multiply the denominator by, I must also multiply the numerator by. So now we've got 8/10. And now we can add on 2/10. Alright, so a quick recap. Adding fractions where the denominators are different, you have to find a common denominator. You can either do that by multiplying one of the fractions or simplifying one of the fractions. In this case, I've chosen to multiply. So I know 5 can be multiplied by 2 to give us 10. So you can see that both denominators are now common, both equal. Okay? But remember, when finding equivalent fractions, whatever you do to the denominator, you must also do to the numerator. So we now have 8/10. And we're adding on 2/10, which we know will give us 10/10. Alright, which again, using our knowledge of equivalent fractions, we know is the same as 1/2. So what's the answer to 4/5 add 2/10? Well, the answer is 1/2. And that is how you add fractions where the denominators are different.